right. Hey, call the meeting to order. Start with roll call.
Commissioner Allen,
Present.
Commissioner Norwood,
Here.
Commissioner Zell,
Here.
Commissioner Waddell,
Here.
Commissioner Stallings,
Here.
Commissioner Mason,
Here.
Mayor Pankonin.
Here. Okay. Item number 3. Minutes, item 3.1. Consider approval of minutes of the rescheduled regular commission meeting of July 21st, 2020.
Move to approve.
Okay, motion to approve. Second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Pledge, George.
Oh. All right. We're going to go back and do item 2 now, and then we'll come back for the vote in a minute. Invocation tonight is going to be done by Commissioner Waddell, followed by a flag salute. Special guest that I've asked to come tonight, Aimee Martinez, is going to lead us in the flag salute. Okay.
Father God, we come to you on behalf of the city. And I believe that in all things that we should cover it in prayer, Father God. So we come to you. You said in your word that if we pray for wisdom, that you would give it to us. So we ask humbly for wisdom so that we can approach this with a mindset that would bring you glory and bring you honor. I pray that there will be peace and that division wouldn't come between us. As a community, as a people, Father God, we ask that you would just help us to stay focused on the task at hand and to still hold love in our hearts when it's all said and done and maintain respect and dignity that is reflective of the God in which we serve. We love you and we praise you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Commissioner Waddell. Thanks, Aimee. Okay, now, item 3. I think we already had a motion and a second. Are there any discussion or corrections for the minutes? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Commissioner Norwood,
Aye.
Commissioner Zell,
Aye.
Commissioner Waddell,
Aye.
Commissioner Stallings,
Aye.
Commissioner Mason,
Aye.
Mayor Pankonin.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. Next up is item 4, awards, presentations, proclamations, organizational business. 4.1, recognize the City of Enid Employees of the Month.
Yes, Mayor and Commissioners, I'd like to call Agric Bell up here and Brian Bruce, his supervisor. Come on up to the podium, please. This is a part of the meeting that about once a month I get to recognize a city employee that's done very good work, been recognized or nominated by people in their department and selected by the Public Works Director. In this case, Agric Bell, who's been with us, I think probably for less than a year, 7 months. And I will just say that I first met Agric when he was helping the street department crew up on North Van Buren fixing a concrete stormwater flume up there. And Agric is got such a great attitude. It was just, I knew right away that he was just a great representation of city employee with the right attitude. So Agric, we've got a plaque for you. But before I give it to you, Brian, do you want to say some things about Agric?
Good evening. Eric's been with us about 7 months in the Stormwater Roadway Maintenance Department. Agric is one of these gentlemen that comes to work every morning with a good attitude and leaves with a good attitude. Agric is one of these guys that goes out and does his job, and he was recognized by 2 of the employees in the department, as well as our safety director. So for citizens out there, please applaud Agric for a job well done, because he represents you and the City of Enid administration very well. Thank you.
like to say thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate this.
Okay, so we go the gamut from 7 months to our next employee of the month is Clarence Wallace. Clarence, would you come on up here? And Scott, would you come on up, please? Clarence Wallace has been at the city for 29 years, and he's been a phenomenal employee. He's been in the utility service department for much of that time, maybe all of it. And he knows the ins and outs of everything. He was responsible for many things. One of them was getting out your utility bill. So every month when you get a utility bill, that's some of the work of Clarence Wallace. But you're real popular now. Hey, he did a whole lot of other things. And one of them that's notable is the koi pond that he inherited the maintenance and upkeep from Audrey Reed, who was your supervisor, and I barely got to know when I came to the city. But Scott, you probably have a lot of things. You work with Clarence for a long time.
I managed the utility services department for several years and had the honor of working with Clarence. And, you know, not everyone graduates from high school and jumps into a municipal service. And I came into the city of Enid not knowing very much about water, not knowing very much about municipal government. And I learned quite a bit from Clarence. He has always been the type of employee that wants to invest in the people around him and teach people and show people. And if there were a lot of employees in the room, you would all be raising your hand that Clarence has helped you at some point in your career. He's taught you something. He's helped you find something. So he's always been that guy. And he's just someone that everybody loves. And so congratulations on 29 years with the city of Enid and for being the July 2020 Employee of the Month.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's quite an honor, and I just wish everybody the best.
Also, I think we mentioned Clarence is retiring. So Clarence's family is here. Pat and Rusty and family. April, you want to come on up? I'm sure it'd be great for you to come on up here and everybody to see you. I got a couple other things to say about Clarence. Number one, not only was he a faithful employee that selflessly served for 29 years, he also is a Vietnam veteran. He served the country, and he's a great all-around guy. Clarence also knows a lot about everything. And so he told me a story one time about when he was a younger man, and he worked at the co-op with our chief of police. So if you want to know any more about Clarence, you can visit with Clarence or Brian O'Rourke as well. But we already had a party for you, and we wanted to give you this plaque tonight and give you an opportunity and your family to say anything.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you. I'm very honored, very humbled, and it's been quite an experience, and I've enjoyed it all and really got to meet a lot of people, you know, the public and the people I work with. And the public wasn't all bad. A lot of them were really good. But thank you all.
Well, I can tell you. Well, I can tell you after 29 years of him being with the water department, I've learned that water is more than H2O. I've learned everything in and out about water that could occur with water. So.
All right. Item 4.2, we're going to recognize Aimee Martinez. She'll be accompanied by her mother, Cynthia. Just want to recognize Aimee for courage and bravery. So if you two would please come up and meet me at the podium. All right, I don't know about you guys, but one of the hardest things that I know that people do is get up and speak in front of other people. It's an unnatural skill that nobody ever gets used to. Well, maybe over time. After 70 years, maybe you get used to it a little bit. But it's a fear that you have to overcome. It's hard to do that in the best of circumstances. Now, this young lady impressed me a couple of weeks ago at our meeting, because not only did she stand up and tell everybody what she thought, but the room was 95% of the room had the opposite opinion. She still stood here, waited her turn, stood up with all the poise of any adult that I ever met, and presented her case. And win, lose, or draw, she just showed a remarkable amount of bravery, and she's the kind of citizen I like to recognize. So I have a coin from the mayor of Enid that I'd like to present to her right now.
Mayor, and I've got one more employee announcement for recognition. Hey, David, would you mind stepping up here just a minute? David Hunter is we just hired, he's our new Director of Public Utilities. David comes to us from the city of Denton, where he was the Watershed Protection Division Supervisor. He's got 20 plus years of experience there. He's going to be very helpful to us going forward with the Call Lake project and other things. So David, would you like to say a few words to the City Commission?
Thank you. I just thank you for having me as a part of the community. I just look forward to being part of the family, I guess I would say, and providing a good quality service and excellence to the community. That's what we're here for, just serving the folks, providing good water and good services. And if there's anything you need from me, always just let me know. Thank you.
All right, good.
Okay, item 5 is community development. 5.1, conduct a public hearing and consider an ordinance rezoning property located in the 1500 block of South Garland Road, consisting of a tract of land of approximately 3.49 acres from A agricultural district to C3 general commercial district.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. This rezoning that you're considering this evening is on South Garland. It's a part of the World Harvest Church property. It's located just north of Evandale Addition. And this slide shows you the church. The box in yellow is the area being rezoned from agricultural to C3. And you see Evandale there to the south. Right across from this site will be our new soccer fields. When we look at rezonings, we want to make sure that we have access to road, water, and sewer. And we do on all cases. You see water there in Garland. Garland is the access road. You can see that the sanitary sewer is east approximately 1/4 mile. And they have this strategy. Oops. There's a strategy. The slide isn't there, but they're going to extend the sewer from where it is to the yellow box. And then the commercial, if it's approved, they're proposed to build 2 doctor's offices there. May I answer any questions?
Move approved.
Okay, motion to approve.
This just the hearing?
Second?
Is this the hearing or the ordinance itself?
This is the hearing, Commissioner.
Oh, okay. All
Once
right.
that's complete, then you can take action on the ordinance if you desire. There may be others in the room, Mayor,
Okay.
that would like to speak to this.
I don't think, I looked at the sign-up sheets, don't think anybody signed up for this topic, but I don't have them in, oh, I got them right here. Just a minute. It doesn't look like anybody signed up for that, so there's no public comment during hearing. So, then we'll go to item 6. No? Well, it's not on here.
I think the hearing and the ordinance are both the same item 5.1. Is that
They're
correct,
both the
Chris?
same item? Okay.
Yeah, once
So we
you,
just need to conclude the hearing and then we can consider the ordinance.
Commissioner Azell is correct. Once you conclude the hearing, then the commission can act on the ordinance.
All right. All right. The hearing is closed. We'll go ahead and call for the vote. I think I had a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, please go ahead and take the roll.
Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Commissioner Norwood,
Aye.
Commissioner Zell,
Aye.
Commissioner Stallings,
Aye.
Commissioner Mason,
Aye.
Mayor Pankonin.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, thank you. All right. Item number 6, administration. Item 6.1. Consider the City of Enid emergency declaration COVID-19, August 4th, 2020, pursuant to Enid Municipal Code 2014, Title 5, Chapter 3, Sections 5.3-1 through 5-3-10, and 63 OS 683.11. So here's the way we're going to kind of do this tonight. I know a lot of people have signed up to speak to this topic. If you've signed up tonight, we have so many people signed up. I want to make sure everybody gets a chance to speak, but we want to be considerate of everybody else's time as well. The time limit's going to be 2 minutes. At 1.5 minutes, you'll hear a bell ring. That means it's time to start wrapping up. At 2 minutes, you'll hear the bell ring again, and I'll ask you to allow the next person to begin speaking. So that's kind of the way we're going to do it, just asking for your help on doing that. I will call people both that signed up through Zoom as well as who signed up here in person to speak, so we'll try and get everybody. The only thing that I would ask is let's be respectful for each other. We all have opinions. I just want to make sure everybody gets a chance to be heard without being disrespected while they're doing that. So whether you're online or in person, let's give everybody their due respect to present their ideas.
Mayor, I think it would be helpful to for Carol or somebody to explain what is in this so everybody fully understands. I know last time,
okay,
I think there might have been some confusion. So Carol, could you speak a little bit about what's in it so everybody knows beforehand before they start speaking?
Yeah, good idea. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. This ordinance, this regulation or declaration adopts if passed, it would adopt the state of Oklahoma's 4-tiered color plan. And it outlines the guidelines that the state provided for new normal green, yellow, orange, and then the state plan just says that there will be a mediation plan if you get to red. And it also outlines the red risk factors that are taken from the state's plan because orange is 14.39 daily new cases, and then red is with 1 or more of the 4 additional factors. The state's plan includes guidelines for individuals, businesses, and vulnerable persons. And okay, so that's what most of this is. And then the enforcement part says that provisions relating to social distancing, provisions relating to safeguarding large public gatherings or venues will be enforced. And it also talks about all of these things are better enforced on a honor system rather than a penalty and enforcement section. And then it provides that the face coverings and the social distancing and the large gatherings, that code inspectors and police officers may enforce this. They will ask the people to wear a face covering or to socially distance or leave. And then they will, if that does not happen, they will take steps to remedy the violation. Additionally, it's a $9 fine for the first and second offense. And after that, it would be a $100 offense and include having to appear in municipal court. There's also, if you can't wear a face covering, then you have an offense. And this is my attempt to get what Mr. Azell desired. So I do think that it would be fair to have Mr. Azell explain the reasoning behind it. He would be the best advocate for this.
Okay.
Before Ben speaks, Carol, may I ask you a question?
Yes.
My question is, does this ordinance, is it going to mandate that everyone has to wear a mask everywhere they go when they come outside of their homes, or strictly in public places and businesses? That's my question.
I think Ben can best answer that. He helped to draw that up. So Ben, would you like to answer that and then fill out the...
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Derwin, so let me answer your question first. Let me talk a little bit about generally what we're trying to accomplish with this dramatically different ordinance than the last thing we brought back. Your question, the requirements for folks leaving home are a little bit different depending on how severe the infection rate is in the community. Now, that community infection rate is not decided by us. That's decided by the Oklahoma State Department of Health that has this system in place that floats that infection rate color code roughly on a weekly basis. So even in where we are now, according to OSDH, the orange level, the requirements for wearing a mask are not uniform for everybody all the time. When you can't be socially distancing, when you can't be safe somewhere without a mask. So if I'm out walking on the trail with my kids, I don't need to wear a mask. You can safely be outside on the trail. You can safely social distance. You can be safe in all kinds of places without a mask. But if I'm going to the grocery store, yeah, I need to wear a mask. All of you need to wear a mask. Because you can't be at the grocery store and stay 6 feet away from everybody. You walk past somebody in the aisle and they cough on you and you're at some serious risk. So it's not uniform, it's not draconian, but it's based on a reasonable set of precautions that I didn't write, Carol didn't write, all come from OSDH. So let me speak generally about why this is perhaps a better option than what we considered before. That floating color level, that matters. The idea that we as a community need the exact same precautions as Oklahoma City or Tulsa all the time isn't really rational. Because we have, at various times through this particular crisis, been doing better. Not so much now, we're doing horrible. But there have been times where we have. And if we can get this under control, we shouldn't have to face the same sets of restrictions as other areas, be it bigger cities or smaller cities, that do. We want everybody to be safe. We want everybody to be well. And this is a set of options that's largely based on the honor system. Let me read this language. This is just one short sentence that I think matters. This is in the enforcement provision. Because we're not asking the police to do anything really complicated here. We're not asking the police to do anything really hard. We're asking the police to respond, basically. So if I have a business, and I do, somebody won't wear a mask, they come in and they won't wear them. I say, hey, would you please put on a mask? They say, no. I say, all right, will you please leave? They say, no. Then at this point, I can call Enid Police Department and they'll send an officer out. And the officer will say, hey, sir, would you please wear a mask? If that person again says, no. The police department could say, hey, will you please then, if you won't wear a mask, here's one, if you won't wear it, please leave. That person then, after like 8 opportunities to back down, still says no, they get a $9 ticket. Most of what else is provided in here, we're all supposed to be doing anyway. Every one of us here should be doing this stuff. And that's not just me, that's the state of Oklahoma. That's the state of Oklahoma Department of Health. It says we should be doing this stuff anyway. And because the police department had some concerns about the enforceability of a broader issue, what we provided is that very narrow scope of what they need to do. The rest of it, here's what it says. All other provisions of this declaration rely on residents of Enid to act in each other's mutual interest, apply under the honor system, because we should be taking care of each other. And all of you told us at this last meeting, through 4 hours, that you could do this on your own, that you could do this on your own without us mandating it. But it hasn't happened. Because I wear my mask and go to Lowe's, and I'm one of the only ones. It's not happening voluntarily. So we're still relying on the honor system, but if we as a community say, this is mandatory, you know what? You need to do it. Please do it. Saying please hasn't worked. We've been saying please as a city, we've been saying please as a state, and it's not working. Very few of you are wearing masks here, and you all should. So what we're saying is most of this is just asking nicely, with just a little more force. And then the couple pieces of it that communities all over the country, all over the world, are implementing to great effect, we're gonna ask the police to back up our small business owners, back up each other with minimal fines. That's really all this is. This is not draconian, this is not severe. And if you can't wear a mask, if the language is, if wearing a face covering could cause impairment or could constitute a hazard to the individual, according to a treating physician, you don't have to do it anywhere, nowhere. It's gonna cause a problem, we're not gonna ask you to do it. That's all that's in here. That's all I got for now, George.
All right. I'm sure we'll discuss in a little more detail later on. But I guess now we can go ahead and hear from the audience. So again, there's a 2-minute rule in effect, and we'll ask for your compliance with that. Let me start with Lori Copenhaver and Kevin Copenhaver. You're on deck.
Dear City Council, Mayor, and fellow citizens, thank you for allowing us the opportunity to speak tonight. I would like to focus on 2 words, be kind. I would like to start off with the Bible verse. In Ephesians 4:32, it says, and be ye kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as God for Christ's sake hath forgiven you. Ever since businesses have started mandating masks, there have been some people using profanity against others who choose not to wear masks. My husband's friend went to Walmart on Saturday and complied with their request for shoppers to wear a mask. She spent 2 hours in the store with the mask on, and as she got outside the store and was walking towards her car, she took off her mask and someone called out profanity at her as she kept on walking to her car. Another friend of mine also went into Walmart, and they said they would have to call a manager on her because she was entering the store without a mask on, and it was her choice not to wear a mask. She replied, okay, go ahead. I'm just going to be in here for just a little bit. On Saturday, I witnessed the lady who drove up while we were talking to friends outside, and she hurled profanity out at us because we weren't wearing a mask, and this was said in front of children. This is unacceptable. We should be able to go shopping without fear of profanity being said to each other. We have freedom of choice as to whether or not to wear a mask. And I have lived here all my life and have never witnessed so much hatred as I have now. I have lived in Ward 3 since 2006, and I have never been visited by Ben, and my husband hasn't been visited by Ben.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
Dear City Council, Mayor, and fellow citizens, I want to read what my wife left off. On December 28, 1908, a devastating earthquake struck Messina, Italy, killing 84,000 people. Just before the earthquake, local authorities passed a number of ordinances reflecting their ungodly character. In fact, the Christmas Day issue of the local paper had contained a parody actually daring God to make himself known by sending an earthquake, and he obliged. Thank you for allowing us as citizens to talk on the matter of the mask ordinance and letting people voice their opinion. My concern today is not about the mandatory masking up, which I'm not for, but how leadership is done and how we are to be example setters for our city. For example, in the Bible, it says we are not to take the Lord's name in vain. We need to be sure as leaders in our communities that as a council, you need to keep the name of the Lord with respect and reverence. This is all should be done in our correspondence to our constituents that we're over. Aggravates me, sorry. Another thing I observed is how to show respect with people in authority over you, such as our chief of police, and giving him respect, due, and honor. I am an ordained minister, and I love our church, and I love our community, and I love Ward 3. No one person can say, this is my neighborhood. This is our neighborhood. I have often suggested to be a better church and how we can make a difference in our community, but the members are the ones that make the final decision on it, and I respect their decisions, just like the last time at the city council when we voted 5-2. I don't go to my church the second time and ask them for a consideration. I will respect them. I ask that this would be the last time this is brought up as a city council because this is causing division in our community.
Next up is Emily Laddick. And on deck is Brian Henry, and after him, Melissa Crabtree.
Good evening. My name is Emily Laddick. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. Do you happen to remember where you were Thursday, July 16th at 6 p.m.? I do. I just finished my grocery shopping and happened to glance at the clock when I got into my car and realized if the first mask mandate had passed, my shopping trip would have been criminal. My heart swelled with gratitude for my fellow neighbors that spoke at the first mandate meeting and for our mayor and the 4 city commissioners that voted to protect liberty. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Allen, Mr. Norwood, Mr. Stallings, and Mr. Mason for your votes in support of liberty. Since July 15th, many in Enid have become aware of the threats being made by some on our city council to limit our freedoms. This attempt to control law-abiding citizens is contrary to the political inheritance of every American. You see, governments are instituted among men and derive their power from the consent of the governed. This means that we, the people of Enid, have chosen you to represent our interests in government. Your seat, your title, and your authority are grants of privilege from we, the people. We respect your position and honor your service, but it's not without limits. Your authority to govern comes from the consent of we, the people of Enid. And we do not consent to a mask mandate. This attempt to limit liberty has been met with an enthusiasm that has even surprised me. This past weekend, many friends and neighbors gathered to collect some 200 signatures to recall the Ward 3 commissioner. Each one of these signatures represents an individual that wants to remind our local government that we are a free people and able to determine for ourselves how to best care for our families, manage our businesses, and to help our neighbors.
Okay.
Anyone holding a lesser view of we the people in Enid is not fit to govern.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor and City Commissioners, I'm happy to report to you tonight that the love of liberty is strong in Enid. There's a great desire to protect and preserve our freedoms as our presence here demonstrates. And I'm also hearing from Oklahomans across the state. Norman, Oklahoma City, Broken Arrow, and Lawton are also fighting. The
Mayor has 2 minutes gone down.
Our stand for freedom in
Thank you,
Oklahoma
ma'am.
will be a bright light for our nation and will renew in each of our hearts our commitment to
2
our
minutes.
beloved
All right.
republic.
2 minutes.
Melissa Crabtree, you're up next.
I'll try to keep mine short so we can balance out then. As a code enforcement officer, I get to speak to other officers from across the country. I've been doing this now for about 5 years, so I consider myself somewhat of an expert at this point. If not, it's about time I find something different to do. Yesterday, I took the time to reach out through social media to ask other agencies what they were doing in some of the more heavily affected areas of the country for mask enforcement. Overwhelmingly, I was encouraged to hear the answer was to educate the public when required. Now, whether you agree with masks or not, this is a much more reasonable approach than sending out unarmed, untrained, and quite frankly, unprepared nuisance abatement officers to resolve an issue that they are not qualified to handle. That is not an insult, it's a fact. I speak from personal experience. I spent 3.5 years employed at the City of Enid Code Department. I witnessed how serious they take code enforcement safety, and I'm here to report they don't. That's not any fault of anyone in that department. They too recognize that code enforcement officer safety is overlooked on a nationwide, much less statewide level. I had a gun pulled on me very early on. It was laughed about at the City of Enid. My former supervisor was audited, Google it if you don't know what it means, before anyone knew what it was. Do you think management took it serious? They did not. They patted her on her little head and suggested what a shame while the rest of the building spent the rest of the day locked down. What's my point? This is the new suggested enforcement agency for masks, and quite frankly, they have been glanced over tremendously. There are 3 code enforcement officers that perform these duties, and only 1 has been there for 1 year or more. Given the year we've had, I highly doubt that these officers are in compliance with state OCA requirements. All these officers are only equipped with a city polo and an almighty cell phone. They do not have the manpower to take on what is being proposed. And I am asking you commissioners of this city to realize that if this ordinance passes, you're creating a safety hazardous job for those officers. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Crabtree, and after her, Leanne Clinton.
If everybody can wait till the end of each person speaks, then we don't end up using time listening to clapping because that makes the 2 minutes really hard. Surely there's something more fun we can find to do in our free time than continue to have these meetings, right? I don't intend to repeat myself because I trust you remember the general sentiment that we expressed 3 weeks ago. This is my main concern that needs to be noticed about this emergency declaration because it is much bigger than a mask. The declaration grants the full emergency powers of the city to promulgate regulations and directives consistent with Enid Municipal Code 2014, state and federal laws and regulations, and the CDC's infectious disease protocols to help minimize the transmission to Enid residents. This means what is quite possibly hidden in there is an opportunity to subvert Governor Stitt's guidance, which is less strict than Mr. Ezell feels good about, limit the City of Enid's local control, and potentially require the CDC's protocols without the people voting. This is not just about a mask. Per Garfield County Health Department on July 28th, we had 111 active cases. Yesterday, 6 days later, we only had 92 active cases. This is without a mask mandate. Our numbers went down. So at this moment, our active case number is going down without a mask mandate. Scott Morris also said in the video Monday, we have more people recovering than active cases. The hospital is not being overrun. We have some capacity to treat people with COVID-19. There isn't a huge emergency yet, end quote. Yep. I will spare you the math for the sake of time, but we could realistically stay in the orange moderate risk for the next 19 years. That's an entire childhood of a baby born right now. This is not going away. We are not fighting for the freedom to infect others, as many on Facebook have said. We are fighting for the freedom to handle health issues with personal responsibility. And when you look at our statistics, we really are doing just fine. This is about so much more than a mask. Freedom is not selfish, and it is worth fighting for.
Okay, thank you. Okay, on deck is Analytic.
Good evening. I also spoke during the July 15th meeting and read to you the statement from a small town Arizona Mayor, Bryce Hamblin. Google it, you should read it. He has two main themes in his statement. The government should not be imposing mandates on healthy, law-abiding citizens, and that officials should err on the side of freedom when making decisions. This quote from Ronald Reagan should stand as a rallying cry for those of us against more government intrusion and unnecessary mandates. Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same. Or one day we will spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it was once like in the United States where men were free. I know that Mr. Ezell finds it tacky when we citizens utilize our rights and that we are not intelligent enough to make decisions for ourselves, and that he needs to put these mandates in place to force us to change our behavior. But I would argue that that's not what he was elected to do. I want to thank the four commissioners, Mr. Allen, Mr. Norwood, Mr. Stallings, Mr. Mason, and you, Mr. Mayor, for voting against the mandate on July 15th. Your actions show that you are willing to listen to the people that elected you to the office that you hold. And when they write about this in the history books, you will be remembered. I also want to ask that each of you will continue to stand in the gap between tyranny and freedom and hold the line for us. I encourage you to err on the side of freedom in all that you do.
Okay, thank you. Analytic, and then Matt Miles after that.
Hi, my name is Anna. I wasn't born in Enid, and I honestly haven't always been the biggest fan of living in Enid. However, I recently visited a state where I was required to wear a mask. When I got back to Oklahoma, all I could say was, praise Jesus, we're back. I was so happy I was not being forced to wear a mask anymore. And it made me recognize all of the freedom that I have in Oklahoma. My brother and mom really like politics. It has never really interested me until this pandemic. I have been raised to respect the police and those in authority over me, and I'm not against wearing a mask in an appropriate situation, and I respect when I'm asked to wear one. But I do not support the mandate. Do not force me to put a mask on my body. When I get sick, my parents take me to the doctor. It is not your job to keep me healthy. It is my responsibility. By eating healthy, exercising, staying at home when I'm sick, and of course, washing my hands frequently, I am protecting myself and those around me. I am so thankful for this opportunity. It has taught me so much about local politics and how much power my voice and the voices of my neighbors have. Thank you guys for your service to my community.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Miles, and then Doug Pethound after him.
Mr. Mayor, commissioners, fellow citizens, in 1787, after the Constitution was drafted and sent to the states for ratification, even though it was ratified, many within our country were unhappy because it only told what government was to do. It didn't specify what government could not do. And so the very first Congress drafted and then sent to the states for ratification certain amendments. The first 10 amendments we call the Bill of Rights. And the greatest of the Bill of Rights, the very first amendment, gives us 4 precious freedoms: the freedom of religion, the freedom of the press, freedom of speech, and freedom to assemble peaceably. My concern with this declaration is it actually tramples upon 2 of those freedoms: freedom of religion, the free exercise of religion, and freedom to assemble peaceably. If I understand it correctly, a person who is 65 or older is not to socially gather. A church service is a social gathering. I understand that to say that a person 65 or older cannot go to church. It limits social gatherings to 50. And so that tramples upon the free exercise of religion to come and to worship. Americans do not wish to have their freedoms constricted. And so I urge you, think carefully about what you are doing. The motivation is good, but the way it's worded does infringe upon constitutional freedoms that we should take very seriously. And so I urge you to recognize that history will not treat kindly those who voluntarily give up their freedom or those who take it.
Thank you, Mr. Miles.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's my belief that citizens, if provided with honest, and I stress honest, information and no interference, will make the best choices to ensure the health and safety of themselves and those around them. It's worth looking at Sweden and South Dakota as examples of what I've just described, but I don't have time to do that right now. Look it up yourself. Interference almost always tends to spawn unintended consequences. I was very proud in March and April of the way our community, our state, and our nation came together, made sacrifices to flatten the curve and avoid overwhelming our hospitals. It was early and we had no idea what we were dealing with other than historical knowledge of how bad a pandemic can get. When certain businesses were mandated to close, I noticed that there were actually higher concentrations of people than I was accustomed to in those particular businesses that were allowed to remain open. Unintended consequences. I've observed that when people have to wear a mask, they actually tend to touch their face more. Again, unintended consequences. I can almost understand why some elected officials see a necessity to help citizens make decisions to wear masks. Because when I see a person wearing a mask, when they are alone with no chance of encountering another human being, it occurs to me that they either lack the ability to think critically, or worse, they have abrogated that responsibility and rely on others to do it for them. Either society has failed them, or at worst, society has intentionally created that. When I returned to Enid in 2006, a pastor shared with me a vision that Enid would someday become a city of refuge, a place of light in the world. 3 years later, a prodigal son, Jeremiah Harrigan, returned home with his wife, Sarah, to remind us that it's our responsibility to care for our neighbor, not our government's.
Okay, thank you, sir.
And I believe this year, our continuation of the fulfillment of that vision to remind us that government begins with we the people, and that government is best, which governs least. Thank you.
Okay, Mark Aaron. Next up is Mark Gehring. And after him will be Nick Tibbetts. Lives on Logan Road, North Logan Road.
Yeah, I wish I could put up the graph from the Oklahoma State Health Department. It's on their PDF file from the data from July 23 to July 30th.
Sir, could you speak in the mic, please?
Next to the mic. Yeah, can't hear you.
Okay. I wish I could put up the graph. It's available to everybody. If you want to look at the Oklahoma State Health Department It's a PDF file from July 23 to July 30th. And basically it has a bar graph which shows a number of cases based on the date that they either became symptomatic or that they were tested and became positive. That bell graph is, or that graph is showing a bell curve, which is very commonly known with epidemiologists as Farr's law. It's going up. Oklahoma data looks much like we may have reached the peak in mid-July, and now it's starting to come down. We won't know for another week or two whether that will hold true, but I would hate to turn something into law which may not have any application. The people in Enid would understand that you're closing the gate after the horse is already out of the barn. That's one point I would like to make. The other point in regarding masks, since the last time we all met, is that I Googled a bunch of literature again this morning. I couldn't find any science to back up the necessity of a mask, but I'm fortunate that I know individuals that are much smarter than I am, and I talked to one of them about 3 hours ago. His name is Dr. David Franz. He's a colonel in the U.S. Army. He has a veterinary degree and a PhD in physiology from Baylor. He was the commander for 20-some years of the U.S. Army Medical Research Institute of Infectious Disease. If you guys read the book Hot Zone, which was that institute was featured in that, he was in charge of it. He made 3 trips to Iraq looking for biological warfare. Basically, this guy spent his entire career studying biological warfare.
Okay, thank you, sir.
And so I asked, I'll be real quick. I asked him, am I missing something? Is there data that masks are useful? And the bottom line, he says, no, it's all over the place.
Okay.
And he referred me to the University of Minnesota, the CIDRAP, the Center for Infectious Disease and Research Policy. Michael Osterholm is a PhD, is a personal friend.
Okay, thank you, sir.
He said, look at that data, and the data
We'll look it up, but thank you.
The data is
Robert
it's not there.
Uzel, Isley, and then Maggie Jackson on deck.
I time myself, so I'll do
Okay,
my best.
good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening, commissioners and mayor. My name is Nick Ciliberti with a C, not a G.
Okay.
I'm sorry, my handwriting sucks.
That's
I'm,
all right.
I'm terrible. I'm here. I grew up here, and I'm here to speak for some of my customers and people that I serve. And I do feel that I have 3 quotes that I really want you to think about. So the physician treats, but the nature heals. Hippocrates. The doctor of the future will give no medicine, but will interest his patient in care of the human frame, in diet, in the case, and in the prevention of disease. Thomas Edison, 1903. Or do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit within you, whom you have from God? You are not your own, for you were bought with a price, so glorify God in your body. Do the doctors in the health profession now reflect Thomas Edison's visions of the doctor of the future? Ben. Yeah, that's a no, obviously. Does the medical industry pursue natural, non-patented ways of healing? Ben.
Sir, could you just...
Okay, all right. Does our medical industry prioritize self-health? What I'm asking for is transparency. If someone's gonna come up here and say, I wanna do some sort of mask mandate, we wanna know the sources, we wanna know who you talk to, we wanna know what's going on. Because I feel with this community, we have the right to know. France does it. They have websites where they know, and they know exactly who is where.
Okay.
So I want to finish with that. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, sir. Robert?
Good evening. I would like to thank all of you who voted no on the mask mandate last time. There's no, I've researched it consistently, and there's no proof, efficacy or efficiency and effectiveness to the mask in different cloth forms. We don't know, of the proper use, and a lot of times, if they're not fitted or the proper type of mask, we just are hoping for some mitigation, but there's no real proof to that. It's taking away the mandate as the state has recommended it. It takes away our judgment. And I think we're just getting a false sense of security with some of the masks that we've homemade, or that we have something over our face is just better than nothing. So without some, a system of a consistency of mask. If you mandate an N95, that would be different. But just saying we have something over our face, there's no proof that that helps. Unfitted, ill-fitted, improperly worn, and then people tend to touch their face more. I know we're hoping for the best in something like that, but there's just no proof that really backs it. Another gentleman noted South Dakota, Iowa is another one where they didn't have real strong mandates, and they've done fairly well for themselves.
All right.
Germany, there's good stats on Germany as well. So just look abroad as well.
Good. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
All right. Maggie Jackson is next, and behind her is JJ Jackson.
Good evening. I see a lot of friends and people I have mutual friends, and there's so much passion. I do think that one difference tonight is that there is some nuance with the map that allows for the data to drive the decision. So I think someone mentioned that our daily active cases are lower today than they were last week. So going by this map recommendation, it's looking at new cases per day. And so that's telling us what the rate of spread is of the virus. So if it's spreading rapidly in our community, that gives us a trigger that we need to do something different. If it does slow down, which I'm really hoping it does, I really want my kindergartner to go to kindergarten this year. We can pull back, and we can, as a community, loosen up. So I think that this is a data-driven strategy. It's developed by epidemiologists, and it helps us give us a place to know when we can make a decision differently. So also, I just want to encourage everybody. There's a lot of information being shared. I love having conversations. Please, a lot of you I know, I would love to talk to you more about the calls I'm making with the health department. I'm helping with investigations. I'm playing with my mask because it's getting in my mouth. I'm calling people who are vulnerable, who are not able to go to work, who are very sick. So there's a lot of passion tonight. My personal passion is taking care of the vulnerable people in our community and giving everybody a chance to survive and thrive. So please reach out and talk to me. I would love to share the information that we have. Thank you all so much.
All right, thank you. Hey, JJ Jackson, and after him, Austin Miles.
All right, let me start off by saying I'm just one voice among several in similar circumstances. My fiance and I are to get married in 2 months in this exact room. We have planned this wedding day for 2 years. This is a specific date that we've waited for. We have a guest list of 114 friends and family who are to come celebrate this day with us. That, of course, is if all 114 guests are able to make it. So with that money we have spent and are spending with this venue, and more importantly, our photographer, my concern is, how is it fair to tell us we must wear masks, we social distance? We can't even have more than 50 people at our wedding due to these mandates. It's our wedding, not the government's. Professional photography isn't just about posing, but also about getting candid photos. It is never appealing when a mask is being worn in those type of photos to be treasured for a lifetime. These photos will not be a great memory or something we want to hang on our wall. Only being allowed 50 guests at a wedding in a room, this room that is over 9,000 square feet, is absolutely insane. Our day is a day of celebration, and you cannot celebrate the way we should if we're being cheap. We're making our family and friends very aware of the situation, and they know if they are not well and have a fever, then they need to stay home and not attend. We should be allowed to monitor our own actions, especially in an event such as a wedding. I believe that we should be accountable for our own actions and let all of us make the choices we believe are suitable for any given situation, not just the wedding. We know what is best for ourselves as well as our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Miles, then Jennifer Fletcher.
Good evening. My name is Austin Miles. I'm a kindergarten teacher's assistant at Coolidge here in Enid. I'm very aware that this mask makes me look like a pelican, but I'm going to wear it anyway. I actually went through several different drafts of my comment tonight. The first several were very laden with facts. They're from the CDC, the World Health Organization, everyone asking, where do we get these facts? That's where you get them. You get them from the experts. But then I thought, you guys have done your research. You've heard the facts. You've heard Maggie talk at this meeting, at the last meeting. You've heard other health experts. You know the facts. I just want to urge you to use the facts. Last meeting, you had a young girl come up and bravely share that she had a comorbidity. And she speaks on behalf of many in our community who are elderly or immunocompromised. And she shared, and she gave you one simple charge. She said, hey, I wear a mask to protect you. Will you please protect me? We also heard from a louder, more vocal group, admittedly, and a lot of their arguments came from the fact that they just didn't want to wear a mask. I'm claustrophobic, which is not a medical condition. It's an anxiety disorder caused by an irrational fear, by definition. And we had people say, you know, I have a beard, I don't want to wear it. And it was a good looking beard, I'm not going to lie. But whenever you put facts up against the opinion, the facts should always win. There should not be an argument between facts and opinion. So I know that you guys in your tenure have had to make many difficult decisions where you have to weigh the opinions of the public, and you know things are easier when it's just preference versus preference. But again, you can't argue facts with opinions. So I'm going to close very quickly. I want to ask you two questions. I want you to actually answer these. Number one, are you aware of the COVID-19 pandemic? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have the power to implement protocols that will help, at the very least, slow the spread of COVID-19 in our community? Yes or no?
Yes.
Then by your own admission, if you fail to implement these measures, however inconvenient they may be, you are putting our city at a greater risk during this pandemic. Make the right decision.
Thank you, sir. Jennifer is up. Heidi Long, you're on deck. Jennifer?
Members of the City Council and Mr. Mayor, thank you for allowing me to speak this evening. I'm here to ask that Enid City Council vote down any mandate to require individuals to wear masks. No one is dismissing the notion that COVID can be a serious disease for a small fraction of people, but choosing to wear a mask and being forced to wear a mask are two very different matters. We are the people right here in Little Enid, Oklahoma, going to be brave enough to make our own informed but independent decisions on how we govern ourselves and how we live our lives? Or are we going to bow to the outside media-driven fear and give into peer pressure to conform with left-leaning narratives? The outside media is not unbiased, and their aims are not noble. What better way to scare us into submission than by blowing up a serious but manageable manner into a full-blown crisis? Our COVID response should be based upon our own experience. Our hospitals are not full. Our children are not sick. We are not dealing with a plague. If it weren't for the media, we wouldn't even know COVID existed. Our experience is much different than the picture they present. It is. So if we enact measures, these enact based upon what we know, not based upon what we are being fed. My request to you is resist the narrative, resist the peer pressure, resist the media lashing, which will surely come. Resist the threats of legal action, resist the ridicule, resist the temptation to embrace the fake olive branch the left will offer if you give in. They will always want more. There are more people in Enid, many of whom are right here in this room, and we will stand behind you and support you. You are not alone.
Thank you. Okay, Heidi, you're up next, and Mary Seltzer, you're on deck.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing us to speak. I'm here tonight to lend my support to limiting the sale of soda, pop, Coke, over a certain number of ounces. By curtailing the public's consumption of sugary beverages, the city will surely improve the health of our community and ultimately save lives. Some people just don't have the self-control or intelligence to realize their sugar intake is not good for their health. While not the perfect analogy, unproven mask mandates as a way to save lives are about as ridiculous sounding as mandating what your citizens should or shouldn't drink for health. A CDC emergency Twitter account recently tweeted...
Can you speak into the... I'm having a real hard time.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'll do that. A CDC emergency Twitter account recently tweeted that a t-shirt, scarf, or cloth dinner napkin formed into a mask would be a suitable face covering to prevent the spread of coronavirus. Something about this tweet in particular made me realize that the calls for mask mandates have absolutely nothing to do with health and more to do with compliance and control. The handkerchief, the hanky you used to carry around in your pocket, has been pulled out of a relic bin of history for another day in the sun, this time tied to the faces of well-meaning people. Where were the dinner napkin mask suggestions for all citizens, healthy or not, during every other pandemic in the last 100 years? There were none, not because we're so much smarter now, but because they aren't effective. Coronavirus is still spreading in states with mask mandates in place. The real question is, why are they needed for this virus with a greater than 99% recovery rate? To briefly review recent history, we were going to take the first 15 days to slow the spread. Who can forget flattening the curve? We'd given the hospitals a chance to prepare for the coming tidal wave of hospitalizations, and we waited and waited. The overwhelming wave has not yet emerged.
Thank you, Mary. Next up is...
Please don't cave to the hype. Good ideas don't need mandates. They don't. Thank you.
Okay. Mary is up, and then Scott Jessen.
The best, most knowledgeable medical experts disagree about curbing the spread of COVID. Making any serious decisions, such as mandating masks for everyone, is not wise when the medical facts themselves cannot be reconciled. This creates confusion, confusion breeds fear, and fear breeds paranoia. This type of environment is ripe for control and manipulation, which is why so many of us are speaking out. This has less to do about masks and more to do about mandates. In all the focus on COVID-19 and the physical effects, we are forgetting about emotional health. I have relatives who live in 2 different states where the governors have mandated masks. One of those governors has even created a tattletale hotline, encouraging citizens to take pictures of unmasked people and send them to her. In both of these states, people are struggling with depression, discouragement, and despondency. We have enough to mentally and emotionally process. Please don't take away the one thing that can lift our spirits in uncertain times, the opportunity to at least see one another smile. And that's how we will show kindness.
Thank you. Okay. Scott Jessen, are you in here? Oh, okay. And next up will be Scott Whitley.
I gave each of you a copy of the proposed declaration with countless questions,
definition inconsistencies, and enforcement issues. Why should we follow the lead of a commissioner who can't even pay attention to us and stop doodling, or who only acknowledges the speakers that agree with him? And someone who says they have to make decisions based upon all information available, but only calls upon experts who agrees with them. Why wasn't our local law enforcement expert asked to be consulted at these meetings? Thank you.
All right. Okay. After Mr. Whitley will be Kelvin Andreas.
Mr. Mayor, thank you for a chance to come and speak again. I spoke at the last one. I was really nervous then. I'm really nervous now, but my goal is to try to beat the bell. So we'll see how this goes here. But first of all, I just want to say I am so very, very proud to live in Enid, Oklahoma, a place that is still a bright spot for the rest of the state, a place where we cherish freedom a lot and we're willing to fight for it. So it is great to live in the Garden of Enid is what I think it's in the Bible somewhere in there. I'm not sure. But let me just start off by saying this. If I go to Burger King and they say, you need to put on a mask, and I say no, and they say, you got to leave, I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to do that. There's already a law in effect right now that says I would be a trespasser and I could be arrested. So we don't need this to get me out of Burger King. I don't look so good in orange anyway. I would leave rather than to try to just force myself there. The other thing is I read that all the medical people are really, really worried about what's going on. It's not true. When I delivered mail after I spoke the last time, I delivered to a lot of doctors' offices as well as medical facilities. When I went in there, they came out and they actually clapped for me. And I thought, what is going on? And they said, no, we saw you speak. We heard what you said. We are so glad you got up and said it. One particular place I won't mention, they said, we know what sterilization is all about. And what was being proposed has nothing to do with that. Thank you for saying what you did. So it's not the entire medical community that is all worried about COVID. There's a whole lot of them out there that are not. Just real quick, I did a little research on this. Our immune systems are strengthened by sunlight, fresh air, and exercise. The virus is weakened by warm temperatures. So that means right now we are the strongest in our bodies and the virus is the weakest. Now's not the time to be putting masks on everyone. Now's the time to take those masks off, get a little bit of a taste of the virus so your body can build up immunity. Now is the time to let our bodies build up immunity. If we mask everyone off now, watch out in the fall and the winter when we don't have that herd immunity that we should be getting right now. So err on the side of freedom. We'll be back if we need to be. Thank you. Oh, one more thing. Thank you for standing with us. We expect that you'll do so again tonight. Thank you so much.
All right. Okay, Kelvin, you're up next, and then Heather Killiam.
Want to thank you again for the opportunity to come tonight to this open forum and participate in this peaceful assembly. I'm new to Enid from Wichita, Kansas, and so glad that we moved last summer, my wife and I, and just appreciate the hearts of the people and our leadership in taking care of this fine community. And 3 weeks ago, when I was here, I listened, I think, quite well to the people that were speaking. And one of them particularly was talking about loving your neighbor and showing respect. And I thought that was a well thought out point, of course, not originated by her. But since then, I have occasionally, I don't like wearing a mask, and I have some friends that disagree with me, but I do sometimes carry a mask in my pocket out of kindness and respect and loving for my neighbor occasionally, just to be kind. And I appreciate the thought from the last woman from our last meeting together. I also want to respond to our city council member that talked about socially distancing at stores. I think I can properly keep my distance at Aldi's or Lowe's or Walmart or wherever. And I don't think I need help in figuring out what's 5-6 feet distance. In closing, I would like to agree with a great preacher from about 3 weeks ago that says, I will wear a mask occasionally when it's prudent, and probably when I'm asked. Just don't require that I wear that mask. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Heather's up next, and then Gary Cole.
It's Killam,
I'm
by the
sorry.
way.
Yeah.
And I am going to forfeit my time and give it to David Peck.
I was there at the last meeting. I brought up a few questions.
Get by the microphone. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I was at the last meeting. I brought up a few questions that still have not been answered yet. And I got to thinking more about those questions, and then I got to doing some thinking on my own. But I spent a lot of time in the oil field, dealt with OSHA a lot, and OSHA discourages wearing any kind of safety device in an improper manner. Going back to that, I'm still kind of questioning if Mr. Ezel's plan has a contingency to force men to shave, because bearded men make any mask useless, period. And he still hasn't got into there on exactly what type of mask is going to be required. If that's the case, I can go get a pair of lace and put it on there and be fine. His lace is still considered a face covering. So I would, if he's really serious about this, I would encourage him to go deeper into depth with it and actually answer some of these questions we have and concerns about these mask things that we have, and have him actually put a mandate out, or what his idea is on what the requirements are going to be and if he's going to force us to shave or not. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, Gary Cole. And up next is Aimee Martinez.
I have a question here for the city attorney. I want to know, Carol, is this ordinance enforceable? I've spoken with several attorneys. I know what their opinion is. And I know what Judge Napolitano's opinion is too. I want a simple answer, yes or no. Is it enforceable? Well, we're going to find out. I'm 72 years old. I'll wear a mask when I feel like it's appropriate. If I don't feel like it's appropriate, I'm not going to wear one. I'll go where I want to go when I want to go. And nobody is going to mandate for me that. Now I'm going to ask you all a question. It's very simple. I know you've studied. What is the current death rate percentage in Oklahoma for active cases? Very simple question. You should know that, Mayor. What is it?
I don't know it offhand.
You don't know?
No.
You're voting on something and you don't know. Okay, in Oklahoma, right today, it's 1.43% out of all the cases. 1.43%. Chief O'Rourke, I've known him since he came on the police department, because I was the finance director for this burg for 14 years when he started. He is one of the finest, best, hardest working police law enforcement officers in the country. We are very fortunate to have him. And somebody up here owes him an apology, but I wouldn't.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't wait on it, Brian, because I don't think they're going to have the whatever to do it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cole. Appreciate it. Amy, you're up next.
Hello, everybody, again. I'm Aimee Martinez, and I talked at the last meeting. I'm here again to try to persuade you. I'm here again to try to convince and persuade you. The first time I talked in the city of Enid, Pastor Wade said, "Do not force us, persuade us, and we will do the right thing." Have you guys done the right thing? I am grateful to see that at least we are social distancing in here. But my heart hurts every time I go to Walmart, and although they require mask usage, there are still people that after getting through the doors take off their masks and act like 5-year-olds getting their way. This is not about getting your way. It is about caring about others. Please do the right thing. Wear masks when social distancing is not possible. Do it thinking about someone else that you may not know is immunocompromised. You never know who's next to you. Finally, I want to tell you I love my community, and I pledge to fight for my liberties and your liberties. But I will also tell you that I have learned since I was very little, I need to love my neighbor and show my love with actions. And that is a command from above, and I will obey it by wearing my mask. Please wear masks. Thank you.
Lanita Norwood. And after her is Phyllis Young.
My heart hurts when I see so many Christians not showing love. We tell our children to obey us. We tell our children to obey the laws of the land, and we are not examples for our children. We must wear helmets, seat belts again, car seats in the car, no shoes, no shirt, no service. Car insurance, you get a ticket if you do not have it. You can't smoke in a public place. You cannot urinate in public. You cannot drink alcohol and drive. You cannot jaywalk. You have to pay taxes. You don't have a choice. Our schools have mandated masks for all children. If we decide to go in a store and disobey their rules, we're wrong. And that's not godly at all. As this baby just said, love enough to care about someone else. It just hurts my heart when I see Christians not acting Christ-like. Christ would never act like this. Christ would never demand these, not wearing a mask, guys. Again, this is not deep. This is not serious. It hurts my heart to see Christians acting this way. It hurts. My daughter works in the ICU. She sees patients dying all the time. She cries and calls me and says, "Mama, send me some more oil, some more blessed oil, so that I can make it through, because I'm on the front line, because people will not wear masks." Guys, we have to love. Read the Bible. John 13:35, "By this shall men know that ye are my disciples, if you have love one for another."
Thank you. Okay, after Mrs. Young, Shelley Sheffy.
Well, I actually think I signed the wrong paper, but I do have a couple of questions. I thought I was just signing in, guys.
Oh.
Number one, my question is, if we wear masks, a lot of people do not know how to wear them. Your regular surgical mask, according to the CDC and according to OSHA regulations, are only good unless in a sterile environment for 30 minutes to an hour. So kids aren't going to wear those, and if we mandate masks and they go to school, who's going to change these masks? Who are going to make sure that these masks are clean? Are everybody in here that are wearing a mask right now, do you wash them every single day? In order to be on the regulations, they need to be washed every single day and dried. So are we all doing that? Can we see that everybody's doing that? And if we don't, then we wearing masks and not having what's appropriate, we could be causing more problems. We need to have the immunity, and by being exposed to it, the children, those of good health, get the immunity. Vitamin D, vitamin C, and being outdoors and active. We've also got to think of the children and the fact that they need to be socially active with their own peers and be out there together. Thanks.
Okay, Shelley Sheffy and then Doug Glenn.
Well, I was surprised to hear my name called because I didn't realize I signed up for anything tonight. I came here to listen firsthand to both sides of the issue so I can make an informed decision. So I yield my time.
Okay, thank you. Doug Glenn, and then Brody Ronestal.
Okay, I'm gonna make this short. First, I want to address one thing that was brought up earlier. Somebody mentioned that the First Amendment had four basic rights. Well, there's actually 5. The one that was left out was the right to petition the government. So I just wanted to bring that up. I heard somebody talking about how Christians are acting. Well, I think it's wrong of Christians to judge me because I won't wear a mask. And my final point is there's so much research around that you don't know really what's true. But one thing I do know is true is a face mask is no more effective than a swimsuit in a swimming pool.
Okay. Brody Ronestal, 94 Applewood. Did you want to take?
Good job. Most people butcher my name.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Thanks again. You guys voted last time, 5-2. Great job. I trust you'll do it again. Shout out to Maggie, Mr. Paladin, wherever he went, the yellow mask, and little Martinez girl that got up here and spoke. I'm sorry, move closer. To the little Martinez girl that spoke. I know they've already left. They were sitting by me. Great job. Great job. There's both sides to every story. You've got good, you've got bad, but it's on both sides, regardless. So statistics, yeah, sure, whatever. Personal feelings, yeah, sure, whatever. If you don't want to wear a mask, I don't think we should have to be told to wear a mask. If you choose to wear a mask, by all means, choose to wear a mask. You own a business and you want masks in your business, by all means, ask people to wear a mask. Refuse service, that's fine. Do whatever you want. And us as a community should respect that no matter what the cost. If our business owners and organizations, whatever, choose for us to wear a mask, we should wear a mask out of respect, not out of, to my opinion, I don't have to wear one. Who cares about that? We have enough problems in this town, in the United States, all over the freaking world without having to deal with attitudes to it. So you want us to wear a mask? We'll wear a mask. I don't feel we should be told to wear a mask. That's nobody's decision but our own. Everybody knows that. We shouldn't have to be told to wear a mask. That's all there is to it. If we choose to wear a mask, we'll wear a mask. At that point, if a business owner or somebody's house, if I provide a service to somebody at their house, they won't want me to wear a mask in their house, I will honor that and wear a mask in their house. I keep one in my pocket at all times, whether I need it or not. So there you have it. That's my opinion. Thanks a lot.
Okay,
have a good
thank
day.
you. All right. Okay, that completes all the people that I had that signed up coming in today. I have 4 people that were online that wanted to speak. There's only one. Okay. 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 Katie Cattell, you're up.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you, sir, for the opportunity to talk. I didn't get to last time because of technical issues. To be really quick, I don't want to repeat anybody. I've been in Enid for 20 years as a resident. Love it here. Thank you for all you do for our community. I would like to say I am a small business owner here in Enid. I am against, Ward 3 Commissioner's mandate. I believe I have not had any problems as a small business owner with people coming to my facility, whether they wear a mask, whether they don't wear a mask, that's their choice. I wear one for me and my family, and I've had no problems. Like Ben has said that he's had a lot of problems. I've had no problems. Our community here, I think, is very courteous to others. And I just like to bring up one thing, lean management and the principles of lean thinking. We've all learned about it in school, talking about eliminating waste, optimizing as a whole, and building our integrity and empowering our team. I believe that Ward 3 Commissioner, he's continually bringing up an agenda that has been voted on and declined, and it's a waste of our time for everyone. And to have someone thinking that private residents and businessmen are not intelligent enough to choose our own choices and paths, I would just like to say that that's his opinion of our society. I think our numbers state differently. I'm not going to go into anything like that, but I'm just a normal person, medical background. I'd like to say as a resident, if we wanted to maybe pass a motion that this mask mandate is visited quarterly rather than every month, would save everybody's time. I'm just looking to, forward path to amplify everyone's time and energy in our community. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. And thank everybody that spoke tonight. Again, yes? Oh, which one are you, Dr.? Oh, Dr. Kenyon, please come forward. Yep. I didn't realize you were here.
Fellow citizens of Enid, council, mayor, appreciate y'all letting us speak here.
Closer to the mic. Yep.
Okay. We've been asked to listen to the experts, and we've been asked to listen to the science. And I have some science here I'd like to talk about. So this is from the World Health Organization, advice on the use of masks in the context of COVID-19. This is from June 5, 2020. As near as I know, it's the latest information they have. They have the available evidence. And this is for individuals and guidance on use of masks for the general public. It starts out with studies of influenza-like diseases and human coronavirus, but not including COVID-19, provide evidence that the use of a medical mask can prevent the spread of infectious droplets from a symptomatic infected person to someone else and contamination of the environment. It goes on to say there's limited evidence that wearing a medical mask by healthy individuals in households, in particular those who share a house with a sick person or among attendees of mass gatherings, may be beneficial. So it says there's limited evidence. As I move down to the advice to decision makers for the use of masks, it says many countries have recommended the use of fabric masks in the general public. At the present time, and this is important, the widespread use of masks by healthy people in the community setting is not yet supported by high quality or direct scientific evidence. And there's no personal benefits, and there are personal benefits and harms to consider. Now, of those benefits, there were 5 bullet points. Of the harms to consider, there were 15 bullet points. So as far as the science goes, as I said, sorry.
Okay. Sir, that's your 2 minutes.
Sure. No high quality or direct scientific evidence. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, again, I appreciate everybody's enthusiasm and the fact that you're here letting us know what you think, because
Mr. Mayor.
that's why we're here. Yep.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we, as the city council of the city of Enid, that we will table this as a council and visit this maybe in executive session amongst ourselves, because there are some issues that we need to deal with privately. And that after the gentleman asked our city attorney, Carol Lehman, that question, after hearing that, I do not want the city of Enid to end up in liability or any type of lawsuit. I'm not a lawyer, but I have common sense. And I believe that we need to discuss this matter as a city council among ourselves. There are some issues that we need to take care of as a city council privately.
Okay. I don't believe we can do that. We can't go into executive session to make decisions. We can.
If not executive sessions, can't we have group studies to where we can come together, or Curl or Gerald? How do we do that?
I don't think this falls under any of the executive session exemptions, does it, Carol?
But there are some issues that we need to take care of privately.
Well, Mary's made a motion, so I don't know if
Yeah.
it's been seconded, but could we do other studies? Sure, we could do other stuff.
I sure would
The
like
issue
to
before
do that.
Okay. So I'm not really sure so is your motion to table it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, what that means is we would cease discussion and then take up this at a later date, add it to another agenda item. We'd be kicking the can down the road a little bit further. Is that your intent?
There are some issues that we need to take care of. I'm not going to say what they are. We need to. No.
Hey, hang on, folks. This is our part. This is our turn, please. I mean,
Okay.
Derwin, part of if we're going to, I don't think there's a second for the motion,
There's not.
but if we're going to table it, I think we need to know what we need to, at least what sections we need to get some more information on. I'm not sure what we're talking about here.
Commissioner Ezell, I really believe that one thing that really bothered me in the mandate was involving the code department. That doesn't sit well with me. They're stretched. I deal with code a lot, quite a bit. I was in the code office just a couple of days ago, and we don't have the manpower. And to add that to them and the endangerment of that with the attitudes that we see, that's not good. It's for the safety of all the people. I believe that we need to be wise in our decision making. And I think we need to not just rush into this. I mean, we can vote, but I don't believe it's a wise way to deal with this.
Well,
I think we need to actually deal with this as a council amongst ourselves and then come back to the people.
2 points there, Derwin. First of all, so the code language, just to be clear where that came from Oklahoma City's enforcement provision. Oklahoma City has spent a lot of time kind of working out the kinks of this. Not perfect, but that's where that came from, and we could certainly pull that. We could pull the code official provision and remove code official as part of the enforcement structure. My concern, I guess, is that this is the forum to talk about this. This is the forum for us to talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
And we can make amendments, and I feel like we got to do this.
Reason why?
I think that the way to address some of that, if there are concerns, is let's talk about making some changes to it.
Yes,
it's not inviolate. We can before we vote on something, we can always vote on a modified version. Is that correct, Carol?
Okay, I feel comfortable with that because it's almost like a double-edged sword. If we have our police department, our chief of police, he gave us his opinion a couple of weeks ago, and then we're going to take that type of pressure and delegate that type of authority again. You know, when it comes to our code department, they're not a police force. They don't have the expertise in writing citations. You know, I mean, we're not Oklahoma City. We're not Tulsa. We're not Denver or Dallas. Really, I mean, being fairly, in all fairness, I don't feel comfortable with that. And I can't sit up here and just sit back. I don't feel comfortable.
So do we just basically amend it to take out the code enforcement in terms of being an enforcement agency?
Let me get us back to where we started. I think we had a motion on the floor to table this.
Okay,
there was no second on that. So
I rescind my motion.
Okay, so
I rescind my motion.
So my intent from here was to give each of the commissioners a chance to do any final words that they wanted to do before we proceed. So I think we've heard some of what Commissioner Norwood had to say. Did you were you through, or did you have more?
Yes, I have. I looked at it thoroughly. That was one of the issues that really bothered me the most with the code department.
I would clarify that I actually agree with Commissioner Norwood that in this environment, the code department has, I think would be better left, if you all are going to do something, leave it to the police officers who have the training and have the vehicles, have the knowledge. That would be my recommendation. If you're gonna pass it, I would take out the code department. It may be different in Oklahoma City, but our code department is small, and they do not have the experience in confronting people and that sort of thing.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, who's next? Ben, do you want to go next? Do you have any other?
Skip Jerry. I mean, go back
Oh,
to Jerry.
I'm sorry, I didn't see him. He's hiding down there. Jerry.
Mayor, I'm ready to vote. I'll pass my time on to someone else.
Okay. Ben, did you have anything else?
I'd like to add just a couple things. I appreciate everybody coming out tonight. There are a lot of people who have contacted us via email, via phone call, lots of whom are kind of concerned about being here. I got a lot of emails and talked to a lot of folks who don't want to be here because they're worried about their own health. And so I know this is a good turnout. This is not the whole community. There are a lot of people who don't feel safe being here. My wife would love to be here. Has a compromised immune system. She can't. And so no matter how this vote goes, whether this passes or not, whether it's modified or not, I just want you all to understand I'm thrilled you're here. Wish you were wearing masks, but this is not the whole community. This is 150 folks, and we've got 55,000 people, 50,000 people we've got to look out for. So please understand, because you're here doesn't mean you're the only people who are giving us input, the only people that care. And we got to look out for everybody, not just the loudest people in the room. And I know I respect your passion. I'm a passionate guy, but we got to look out for everybody. The other thing I'd add is, we all got a lot of emails. There's only one email that I kind of like to point at and just draw everybody's attention to if you didn't look at it already. Got a letter from the Rural Physician section of the Oklahoma State Medical Association on behalf of the almost 900 physicians in the Rural Physician section of the Oklahoma State Medical Association. And I'm not going to go through the whole letter. The bit I'd like to look at is they are endorsing the plan, endorsing the OSDH plan, endorsing what we proposed. The language I want to point to is that this is I'm now quoting, this is a necessary measure if we want businesses to remain open and the Oklahoma workforce be protected from SARS-CoV-2. People should want to help our most vulnerable citizens. But as we have watched Garfield County's positive cases increase, citizens have not responded to just a recommendation. We're not responding. We've got doctors asking us to. We've got lots of emails, not just from this group of doctors, but from other treating physicians. We've got our health department director. I've talked to the hospital administrators. We've got people asking for help. Please ask the rest of the commission, let's keep everybody in mind, not just the folks here in the room, and let's please listen to the medical professionals who are actually trying to save lives here while we've got people dying, days in a row now. That's all I got. Okay. And I'm fine with Derwin's suggested modification, and we can always make other changes to it before we vote on it.
Okay, Commissioner Waddell.
I want to thank for everybody's participation, and I want to reiterate something that was said at the last meeting. I can tell you the last 2 meetings that we've had have dwarfed the amount of participation that we've had in meetings for the last, I'd say, 2 years.
Yes, sir.
And so, and I don't say that as, for any type of round of applause. What I say that is that this is the level of involvement that we need from citizens in order to be able to know in everything that we're doing inside of our own community. Every week that we meet, we make decisions to the tune of millions of dollars that of your tax dollars that you pay in order to be able to figure out the direction that we're going to go as a community. And we truly need, whether you agree with me or not, we need you to be involved in terms of the decision-making that is made. If you really want Enid to be a reflection of who you are and who you want it to be, it only works if you're present. So again, I appreciate it, but please, when this isn't on the agenda, please be present again. Wear the shirts, however you want to do it. Please be present, because this is needed. Government only works if the people that it represents are present. The second thing that I'd like to say is that I appreciate every email. I'll take that back. I appreciate most of the emails. I think we have the ability to have this dialogue without being vitriolic, being hateful and mean-spirited. I think we have the ability to disagree and agree on a myriad of issues, but we need to maintain our dignity and our respect. I'm not born Oklahoma, but I've invested, my family lives here, we've invested in this community, and we believe in this community. And I think that there's a certain dignity about being a member of the community in the city of Enid. And so I think we need to work harder in order to be able to maintain that, even when we disagree. Can we agree on that aspect too? All right. So the last thing I want to say is about an amendment to the ordinance itself. I'd like to change the number for large gatherings from 50 to 150. And so y'all can argue about that if you want.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Stallings?
I'd like to reiterate what Commissioner Waddell said about you guys being here. It's really, really good to see so many people turn out to watch local government. It doesn't get any more hands-on than the local government. We need your input. We appreciate your input. But I'll follow suit with Commissioner down on the other end. I'm ready to vote.
Mr. Mason?
Yes, sir. Thanks, Mayor. Thank everyone for being here tonight. We really do appreciate that. Like I said 2 weeks ago, please don't forget, get involved in other things. It's not just this topic. And the thing I want to leave you with is that when you do go out to our businesses, if they're asking you to put on a mask, don't cause a larger problem than what we've already got. We don't have to get to that next level of you saying that you don't need to wear a mask in that business. If that business owner wants that, just do that. And it's also your right to go somewhere else, right? But let's not take a small issue and make it huge. There's no reason to do that, all right? So, and I'm ready to vote as well. Okay.
Hey, thank you all. I think my opinions have been pretty much talked about as we worked our way down the panel here. Again, I appreciate everybody being here tonight, everybody being involved. It doesn't matter which side you're on. It doesn't matter if you're Aimee, who strikes me as kind of a David and Goliath figure. She is in my book, and she's one of my heroes. No matter which side you come down on this, I'm really proud of this young lady. But I'm proud of everybody else that's in this room as well, because you're here representing your opinion, letting us know what you think. And I appreciate the dignity with which everything happened tonight. Last time that wasn't quite as good, and I was much happier with the way we did that tonight. So let's just respect each other today, tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow. And that's all I ask. That being said, I think
I'll make a motion, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the motion with the amendments of changing the size from 50 to 150 and to exclude the portion that points to code being a part of the enforcement a leg of this ordinance, this measure.
Second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Allen,
Nay.
Commissioner Norwood,
Aye.
Commissioner Ezell,
Aye.
Commissioner Waddell,
Aye.
Commissioner Stallings,
Nay.
Commissioner Mason,
No.
Mayor Pankonin.
Nay. Okay. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda items, item number 7.
Mayor,
Those that,
may we take a break to allow the folks to go home if they want to without interrupting
Yeah, let's take a
us?
5-minute break. If you want to leave, we're not going to be offended. If you want to stay, you're certainly welcome to be here and see what goes on for the rest of the night.
Literally antithetical to everything that we just talked about.
I know.
Just want to make sure everybody understands.
Yeah. All righty. Thank you.
It's crazy. Mhm. That's right. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. Oh yeah. What about yourself?
Okay, call the meeting back to order. Next up is item number 7, consent agenda items.
Move the consent items.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, please take the vote.
Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Commissioner Norwood,
Aye.
Commissioner Zell,
Aye.
Commissioner Waddell,
Aye.
Commissioner Stallings,
Aye.
Commissioner Mason,
Aye.
Mayor Pankonin,
Aye.
motion carries 7-0.
Okay, thank you. Item number 8, recess to convene as the Enid Municipal Authority. Item number 9, all trustees of the Enid Municipal Authority special meeting are in attendance. Item number 10, Enid Municipal Authority special meeting is now in session. Item 10.1, award the purchase of a 2020 Ford F-450 Crew 4x4 mechanic service truck for the solid waste department from Vance Country Ford, Guthrie, Oklahoma, in the amount of $78,840, and authorize the mayor to execute all documents necessary.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Commissioner Norwood,
Aye.
Commissioner Zell,
Aye.
Commissioner Waddell,
Aye.
Commissioner Stallings,
Aye.
Commissioner Mason,
Aye.
Mayor Pankonin,
Aye.
motion carries 7-0.
Okay. Item number 10.2, award purchase of a 2020 Caterpillar 259D3 C3H2 compact track loader and attachments for the solid waste department to Warren Cat of Enid in the amount of $60,927.68.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Commissioner Norwood,
Aye.
Commissioner Zell,
Aye.
Commissioner Waddell,
Aye.
Commissioner Stallings,
Aye.
Commissioner Mason,
Aye.
Mayor Pankonin,
Aye.
motion carries 7-0.
Okay. Item 10.3, approval of claims in the amount of $133,856.76.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Commissioner Norwood,
Aye.
Commissioner Zell,
Aye.
Commissioner Waddell,
Aye.
Commissioner Stallings,
Aye.
Commissioner Mason,
Aye.
Mayor Pankonin,
Aye.
motion carries 7-0.
Okay. Item number 11, adjourn to convene as the Enid Economic Development Authority. Item number 12, all trustees of the Enid Economic Development Authority special meeting are in attendance. Item number 13, Enid Economic Development Authority special meeting is in session. Item 13.1, approval of claims in the amount of $10,000.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Commissioner Norwood,
Aye.
Commissioner Zell,
Aye.
Commissioner Waddell,
Aye.
Commissioner Stallings,
Aye.
Commissioner Mason,
Aye.
Mayor Pankonin,
Aye.
motion carries 7-0.
Item 14, adjourn to convene as the Enid Public Transportation Authority. Item number 15, all trustees of the Enid Public Transportation Authority special meeting are in attendance. Item number 16, Enid Public Transportation Authority special meeting is now in session. Item number 16.1, approval of claims in the amount of $1,353.23.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Commissioner Norwood,
Aye.
Commissioner Zell,
Aye.
Commissioner Waddell,
Aye.
Commissioner Stallings,
Aye.
Commissioner Mason,
Aye.
Mayor Pankonin,
Aye.
motion carries 7-0.
Okay. Item number 17, adjourn to reconvene as the Enid City Commission. Item number 18, public comment. I don't think we had anybody wanted to talk on general topics, just those that have already been covered. Okay. Then item number 19, we're adjourned.